Bases dropped on a new Wall Pass Wednesday. John here, you there. And sorry, I'm a little late. I was catching up on our old buddy, John Textor, and I'm trying to get things translated from French to English. We'll have a Textor update courtesy of our friends at Foot Boom and also our friends at The Athletic coming up in a bit. And it does not surprise, sadly, with what we've been keeping an eye on ever since ever. So it's just more to add to the fire when it comes to John Textor and the mountain of evidence that we have discussed when it comes to his financials with either our friend Jason Stevens or what we've uncovered here on the show. So we'll have a Textor update at some point. And obviously it does not surprise. Morning, Alex. So here's the rundown for the day. Tyler, I think, joins us. I don't think he's got a doctor's appointment or anything that will set him back this week. So Tyler will join us in just a little bit. Maybe we'll get into the Textor stuff with Tyler. We got to talk about MLS Cup, see if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com. And also coming up in the last half hour, because tomorrow is what tomorrow is. It is our MLS Cup preview extravaganza with our friends at Apple TV. So today at 10:30, last half hour, Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart's going to join us. So it's Tyler, hopefully Dylan. It is Niko. We're going to catch up with Sue Patberg, the head coach at Emory Women. At the end of the show, we caught up with her as they were heading up to Salem, Virginia for the D3 championships, both men's and women's for Emory. They have made it to the Final Four, and so we caught up with Coach Patberg last night as they were getting ready to head north. So we'll play that, and then we also have a win for Truett McConnell, which reminds me I have to add that audio because I can talk about a win all I want, but I know that you really want to hear it. You don't want to hear me talking about it. So the Truett McConnell win yesterday, we'll go over that. We'll go over the brackets once again in the NAIA and once again in Division III. So we'll set that table coming up for you in just a little bit. So here we go. I'm just going to go ahead. Traditionally, opening kickoff would be kind of loosey-goosey and things like that. We do have some things there's going to be a feature in the championship game in MLS Cup about the shot on iPhone feature. Apparently that's going to be a thing during the championship game for those who might be digging those kinds of things. MLS has released their viewing numbers and their increase in growth when it comes to listenership, viewership, that kind of stuff. That came out yesterday as well. Morning, Abby. Happy hump day. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We know what today is. Dynamic pricing apparently from FIFA has gone out the window when it comes to the cup that the world is chasing in 2026, and we'll make the rounds and let you know what happened yesterday. The USMNT friendlies were announced, and we'll get into that with Tyler, where Mercedes-Benz is going to be kind of busy, and you end up with Manchester City surviving 5-4 yesterday in the early games that are in the midweek window for the Premier League. We've got a bunch of matches today. We'll get into the juice boxes there toward the end of the show or in any gap time that we have. Okay. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And here is said QR code. See, I'm still trying to learn this new setup when it comes to graphics and what to punch and all this kind of stuff. But that is the QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Thank you, Abby. Hit that QR code, start your day with them, and you can kick off your day with them. See what I did there? You hit that QR code, buy out the store. Please buy out the store. Our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But you can do it at a 15% discount by using the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. Then they, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, all right. Our buddy John Textor. So it appears now, according to The Athletic, that Textor is now looking to the word that was being used was clarified. Remember the breakdown that we had yesterday of the 3-hour-long show that he was a part of with the Botafogo fans and the translator and everything. According to Colin Miller and Dan Kilpatrick overnight, he has sought to clarify those comments in which he appeared to suggest the relationship with Evangelinas Marinakis enabled them to, quote, adjust transfer fees to suit their respective clubs. Textor, once again, at the time, Eagle Football, still controls Botafogo and Lyon after selling their stake in Crystal Palace back in June, described Marinakis as effectively a partner in the football business. And I like I said, I get it. You have partners. You want to sit there and it's like, okay, I'll do you a solid here, you do me a solid there, and we'll do it. We'll line it up within the books. We'll keep an eye on each other. We're good trade partners. It's like, okay, you got somebody I'm interested in. Great, cool. You play fair. You bring somebody over, you bring somebody in. Those kinds of things. So, as well as Forest, once again to recap, Marinakis owns Olympiacos and Portuguese side Rio Ave and has traded a number of players with Textor's clubs in recent years. I believe the number is 9. We went over those numbers the other day. So, in the interview with the fans YouTube channel Canal del TF, and this was done with the host and a translator and Textor. So he said a lot of those numbers, meaning transfer fees, will bounce around. Sometimes you'll look stupid. Sometimes they'll make sense. Sometimes it's part of making an adjustment because you trade with that particular friend in a lot of situations. And Textor used the example of Igor Jesus. Capped 5 times by Brazil, 5 goals in the season following the move from Botafogo. Textor said of Jesus at the time, the fact is his injury history was the greatest reason we didn't get paid more for him. Understandable. So then Textor declined to comment, but when speaking to the Times, he insisted what he was referring to was not unusual at all and blamed an awkward translation. And so in that show, it was questions to a translator, questions from Portuguese, translated, Textor answers, translated, and then it goes back into Portuguese. So blamed an awkward question. A team owner can say, quote, give me a break on this new one. I overpaid for the last one based on performance. Every deal's a negotiation. If you desire to continue trading with a particular owner, you sometimes agree to another owner's perception of value, sometimes forfeiting your own perception of value. I don't know why you would do that, though. These negotiations swing both ways. So that was what Textor said. But now, this was from the Matt Lawton article that we quoted yesterday. And so it's a special relationship with these two. But now John Textor wishes to clarify those remarks. In July of 24, Lyon bought Forest center half Moussa Niakate for £34 million, which helped him comply with Premier League FFR. Financial fair play, financial rules, PSR. Forest subsequently signed 4 players from Botafogo, Jesus for 16.5, goalkeeper John Victor, left back Cuyabano, and defender Jair Cunha. Lawyers acting for Palace once again understood to have raised the relationship between Textor and Marinakis in the submission to CAS back in July when they were appealing their demotion to the Conference League, because remember, you can't have a multi-club owner having 2 clubs in the same competition. And so it came down to like numbers and position in the table, and it ended up with Crystal Palace being the one that was demoted to the Conference League because of the relationship that was had in the owners. Palace expelled because Textor was an investor in both Palace and Lyon, who also qualified, subsequently replaced in competition by Marinakis. Asked by the Times how any fan, once again, of any club might feel if the price of a player has been affected by a deal, Textor replied, it's my money, right? But you're ignoring the rest of the conversation about that same answer. And what I object to is people saying there's some sinister relationship between me and Marinakis because people are going after him. What if I have a strategy where I'm creating a regular pathway from Brazil to the Premier League? You can watch a Premier League game between Leeds and Forest and see Botafogo players on both sides of the pitch. That's never happened before, end quote. So, our friends at Footboom, this morning, a little before 4 o'clock, as we advance the story from what we talked about yesterday. From Footboom, headline, historic record losses, Textor's Lyon deals trigger multi-million debts. Article, Lyon, who narrowly avoided relegation to Ligue 2 this summer, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, have been impressive on the pitch. In Ligue 1, Paulo Fonseca's team is 6th, having edged out other contenders for European football such as Monaco and Strasbourg. And then they go into other things talking about, however, Lyon still has the sword of Damocles hanging over them. On November 28, the news finally broke. And I'm still trying to translate some L'Equipe articles because of stuff that has come out after this article. Eagle Group published its full-year results for 24-25 financial year under the leadership of John Textor, far from encouraging. This is Footboom's words. The club's cash reserves have plummeted from €129.4 million to 61.6. Player transfer debts have risen by 40 million to €145 million, and Lyon have recorded a record loss of €201 million. Unfortunately for the club, while new president Michel Kang works to stabilize the situation, John Textor has left another unwelcome surprise in his wake. L'Equipe reports that the Americans maneuvering between Lyon and his other club, Botafogo, has had disastrous financial consequences for the French team. The 7-time French champs recently received reminder letters from the MCCP investment partners. Why? ? Lyon must repay the money they paid for the acquisition of 5 Botafogo players who never wore the French club's jersey, which left them with a debt of €120 million. Let me bring in Tyler, because I think Tyler needs to hear this too. Just saying. Guess who we're riffing on this morning to start? I know it shocked you. L'Equipe details how Igor Jesus, Luis Enrique, Thiago Almada, Jair Cunha, and Jefferson Severino were transferred to Lyon without playing a single match, apart from Almada, who was loaned out. And the deals were not registered with the LFP. None of these players ever played at the Groupama Stadium, and some, such as Igor Jesus and Jair Cunha, were later sold at bargain prices to Nottingham Forest. Textor himself confirmed the transactions, as we did yesterday. It all has to do with Textor, according to Footboom. Yes, you may as well just go ahead and drink your coffee. The American player arranged factoring deals with financial institutions to secure €100 million in cash. Factoring involves a club exchanging future receivables, such as payments from player sales or television rights, for immediate funds. Basically, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for those funds today. But this is kind of what Leicester tried to do when they were in administration. It's like, tell you what, why don't we just go ahead and forego our TV revenue for a couple of years, and we'll try to help that with the debt. So you have receivables, such as payments from player sales or TV rights for immediate funds. In return, the institution collects the funds from the debtor. However, in this case, the debtor is Lyon. All of the players in question had agreed to join Lyon, but the transfer ban ultimately thwarted these moves. Although Botafogo retained the economic rights to the players, the factoring was successful. Lyon must therefore repay the debts owed to the players who never played in France. Creative accountant.
Creative.
Yeah. So that's opening kickoff. The stories continue with John Textor, and we were starting to this morning before I had another radio gig that I had to hop in on. I was starting to listen to the 3-hour conversation that Textor was having with the Canal d'OTF, and I was trying to parse through that and find the quotes that he was using in English, because once again it was Portuguese host, translator, Textor. So I was trying to find the English of John Textor and what he was saying as he was trying to relay what his thoughts were. So that's the latest with John Textor and Lyon and funds and things and receivables and 9 figures ahead of time to help try to repay debts that you've already accrued. So it is literally like Wimpy from the Popeye cartoons. It is, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, is what it seems like.
Yeah, he is
man.
He is well on his way to fraud. It's becoming like really, really sketchy because
becoming sketchy.
I mean, I think because like, look, we can, especially when you talk about millionaires and billionaires, there's always a slimy little way out, right? Like you get a normal person that goes through a transaction like this, and the debt relief companies are calling, the debtors are calling, whoever else might be calling. But with a guy like this, it's just like, all right, well, I'm going to kick the can down the road and see how long we can wait this out. But every time we hear something else about John Textor, he's deeper in the hole. And it's getting to the point where I don't know that legally it's going to be able to be ignored for very long, beyond just paying the money that he owes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
It's becoming really, 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 I say sketchy. It's been sketchy, but it's getting to the point where it's like, now we might be like looking at like legit, like fraud from a legal standpoint, like from an Interpol standpoint, because we're crossing boundaries and everything else. It's wild.
Yes, that's a word to use. So, like I said, I was trying to pour through L'Equipe this morning and try to come up and translate articles quickly, like L'Equipe accusé d'avoir protégé John Textor, and try to get that into into English before I could talk about it. But the translators this morning, apparently on our laptops and our desktops, are working kind of slow. Maybe so. Yeah, saw that, and I was like, yeah, we've got to continue to talk about the story because I talked about it yesterday with the article that came out in the Times with Matt Lawton, and Matt Lawton is really not someone that you want to have with a byline referring to you and your storylines. So we went into that and the translation of the Canal de TF conversation about we're partners and all this kind of stuff, and now he's looking to clarify what he said in the interview, the 3-hour interview on the Canal de TF channel. So he's looking to clarify on one part, and now apparently, according to Footboom, it's like he's pulling money from other places to cover debts and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, we're going to continue to keep our eyes on it. But yeah, as our friend Jason Stevens has said in our conversations about MCOs, it's the other things that John Textor has as a part of his portfolio that keep the soccer owners interested in dealing with John Textor. It's like you want to deal with the satellite TV and all of his other things, all of his economics and his computer interests and things like that. That's why you still hang out with the guy. He's like, what is it? Like when you're in high school, it's like, well, why are you hanging out with him? Well, he's got a great car.
Yeah.
You see that car that he's got in the parking lot? That's why we hang out with him.
He's got a cool vacation house.
Yeah. So he's got a cool vacation house. So when we go on spring break, we always go to his place. So that's kind of why you have all these other owners that are still doing business with Textor and Eagle Football Holdings. So So how was your appointment last week, by the way?
It was good. Man, I don't know. It's just something going around. I mean, my whole house has it. I would not be surprised if you hear probably Jace like hacking up a lung in the other room.
Wow.
He's doing better too, but it's just that congestion kind of situation came through, of course, right before Thanksgiving, and then everybody in the house all at the same time. Everybody else got it, and yeah, it was just. And I'm like I said, I'm still not like fully there. It's been lingering, and it's really frustrating.
But as you were trying to stifle a cough live on air.
Yeah, doing my best.
Trust me, I know about all those kinds of things. So how was Thanksgiving with everybody battling what you're not supposed to?
It was actually really good. It was it's kind of low key because I guess the main event this year for our whole family is going to be Christmas because it'll be the first time in I mean probably 15 years that like the whole every bit of the family will all be in basically the same place together.
Oh wow.
So that'll be cool. But so this one, yeah, it was just we kept it low key. We for the first time ever, and I mean ever. And again, this is coming from a Pilgrim, so Thanksgiving is a big deal. For the first time ever, we cooked just enough food.
Wow.
And when I say just enough, I mean we didn't have leftovers for 3 days. We had leftovers for like a day and a half. But it was nice because we didn't have, like 2 hours worth of cleaning to do after and everything else. I smoked a ham. It was really, really good. I was really happy with how it turned out. And we sat around, we watched the parade, we watched football. It was freaking cold, obviously. We all know this. And so we just chilled. I didn't really do much of anything. It was nice. It was really, really nice. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How about y'all?
For me, I spent more time in a car than I did at actually eating, because we traveled to a centralized location, and it's 2.5 hours down. So like 2.5 hours there, and then 2.5 hours back, because I've got football the next day. So I can't on the day of, I can't drive from a location because you never know what could be going wrong on the roads. And so it's like drive down, eat, turn around, drive back, be here, and then go in for high school football. So we are still actually, I just finished the Boss's rice yesterday.
Nice.
So the Boss's rice dish that is the family tradition. That's the wild card that is attached. So finished that yesterday, and we still are working off of the bacon mac and cheese that she made too. So that's big. Literally, it's like a brick of bacon mac and cheese that we're playing with. While you were appointments and sick and all these other kinds of things, we now actually have a final two in MLS Cup, and Vancouver made it past LAFC. Then they make it past San Diego FC. And Messi and friends are ridiculous right now. So let's work forward. So last weekend, you have NYCFC, who came in shorthanded, and they go down to the erector set, and it was insane to see what we're seeing with the younger players. I believe Tadeo Allende is now being sought by teams in Argentina now, after what we've seen over the last handful of weeks, plus what we knew going in. So Allende, Silvetti, Messi dropping back a little further. You're getting 5 on the board. Suarez is on the bench, and it's like, okay, yeah, good luck trying to catch us. And then on the other side, you have San Diego make it to the last game in the Western Conference, but Vancouver showed why Vancouver is the ish coming out of the West right now.
Yeah, it's funny because we've been, kind of doing our thing over on our YouTube, getting kind of ready for MLS Cup, and so obviously the conversation has been nothing but these two teams for the past few days. And man, I love watching Vancouver play. And I said the same thing about San Diego, and I really thought San Diego would give Vancouver a little bit more of a game, but I mean, they just showed why they are where they are. They deserve to be in the final for sure. And the biggest thing about that one is they were so clinical. We throw that word around a lot. And howdy, Abby. We throw that word around a lot, clinical. And I mean, to go to San Diego and kind of go up against a team that really, really, really likes to punch people in the face and then kind of reverse Uno them. And every moment that they had in front of goal, they made it count. So when you're looking at 3-0 at the half, I mean, that's a tough hill to climb, even for a team that was scoring goals like San Diego was at certain parts of the season. So, you have to give Thomas Muller credit, but you have to give everybody else, I think, even a little bit more credit. I mean, Sebastian Berhalter is playing the best soccer of his career. You have so many little pieces, Brian White that have stepped up and have been so amazing throughout the entire season, well before Muller even got here. It's just fun to watch. And it's not that, I mean, you looked at LAFC. LAFC has a superstar, and then they have a star and a couple of other stars. Vancouver has a superstar and a bunch of dudes that just play really, really well together. Miami has all the superstars. Vancouver, I like that because they're just playing good soccer. And I mean, I go back to the first half against LAFC, and that was beautiful to watch how they were just playing through and around LAFC. Excuse me. And it was just fun. It was enjoyable. So I'm super hyped up about Vancouver going into this one. And I just want a fun game at the end of the day. But like Miami, I think if there was one team coming up against Miami in this final that would give pause to anybody, it would be this Vancouver side because they're just playing really, really good soccer.
Okay, so hydrate for a second. You mentioned Brian White, so we'll go ahead and discuss Brian White here. It was goal 1 of 2
Yes.
in the first half against the San Diego FC. Kanji and Danny on the call, Apple TV and MLS Soccer.
And Dreyer to work this back. Taken away by the Whitecaps. They work it across. The return pass. Kubas is in to the far post, and they're in. Brian White with the finish, and it's the Vancouver Whitecaps who strike first on the road. It's a 1-0 game. The man who scored 16 times in the regular season, an MVP candidate, you might say, in the first third of the year.
Players in recent weeks, in recent months, has been Kubas. Just watch his pressing, his intent. He wins the ball, but then this is brilliant. He plays the 1-2. He thinks he's got a bit of a difficult angle, so he said, you know what? I'm going to play to my centre forward, White. And it's absolutely magnificent midfield play. First of all, to win the ball. Secondly, to play the 1-2. And thirdly, to play to his centre forward. What a start for Vancouver. They've been on the front foot, and they have got the score, and they have got the goal that they deserve early on in this game.
8th minute, Brian White, and it came off of the pressure that you were talking about, where you have all of these guys pressing forward, trying to create opportunities, and you can't turn the ball over 25 yards from goal. And you see what Vancouver does, and it's 1-0 at that point with Brian White, who would end up with a brace in the first half. And you end up with an OG from Pablo Cisniega. It was 3-0, 3-1, your final. Chucky scores in the second half. But, yeah, I mean, Vancouver, and I don't know if it's just because Vancouver is where Vancouver is on the map, but I think they were ignored by a lot of folks this year because of, it's Vancouver, and everybody's looking at all the other shiny objects in the Western Conference. Hey, look what Mikey Veras is doing in San Diego. Not denying what Mikey Veras did in San Diego for their first season. Oh, look at LAFC. They brought in Yeon-Min Son, and they've got Denny Bouanga. And it's like Vanni Sartini started this in Vancouver. Then you have Sartini leave. Jesper Sorensen comes in. They continue being who they are. And then they added Thomas Müller. That's something. And Mueller just wants to be one of the guys. That's why he went there as opposed to other places that were interested. It's like, and I'm paraphrasing, bruh, I just want to be one of the guys. I think that was literally what he said when he was negotiating his contract. Bruh, I just want to be one of the guys. I'm not like above everybody. I want to be one of everyone. And you're seeing what Thomas Mueller is doing, rubbing off on them, especially in that LAFC match, persevering through that. We haven't even gotten the chance. You and I haven't had the chance to talk about 11v9 and the chaos of LAFC. You navigate that.
Yep.
You don't have Halbouni now going into MLS Cup because he's out for another 6 weeks or so. But you navigate all of that madness. Then you go on the road to San Diego. You put them, under the welcome mat initially. Then you stomp on the welcome mat and the glass shatters. And now they're in MLS Cup. And they're a dog north of plus 300.
Yeah. Like it was funny because when we were doing like our MLS Monday shows back around the summer, right? Like during the window, and you have the news about Son and Rodrigo de Paul and Mueller all coming to Major League Soccer. And we kind of were trying to sort through the effect that each of them would have for their respective teams. And I will be the first to say I was incredibly wrong about Rodrigo de Paul and saying that he was going to be the biggest, I guess the biggest impact player out of all of them, and the biggest impact player besides Messi that Miami had. And I was very, very wrong about that one. But on the other side of the country about Vancouver, we were kind of arguing like, oh, what are the goals and assists? What are the contributions going to look like for Thomas Müller? And I kept saying, I don't think Mueller is going to be the guy that comes in and throws up like a 15-10 type season.
That throws up a 15-10.
Yeah. That's not him, even though he could do it. That's not what he is coming here to do. He is coming here to be the engine behind everything else and the metronome, and insert whatever object that you want to hear. But he is that. That's what he was at Bayern Munich. And he stepped right into Vancouver, and he made a team that was already good. I mean, we were referring to Vancouver as the Supporter Shield leading Whitecaps for most of the season. But he comes in and he just elevates everything else around him. And so he didn't need to come in and start banging in goals left and right, though he had a few, right? Like, it's not like he didn't get on the board in terms of goals and assists. But I think what you see with what he's done to this team is, you go back to that first goal and in the San Diego match and how the turnover happened. It's not because they are just this insanely high pressing team. It's that they know when to press, and they do it in unison, and they do it in order, and they know where everybody's going to go. And if you go back and I think some of the broadcasts, and it might've been the LAFC match, they have kind of rallied around Mueller as a guy who they're not going to make that effort to press and run that energy out until they know for sure he is doing it too. He's the trigger. And that's interesting to me because from a soccer perspective, most of the time your pressing triggers are from something on the other team, a wayward pass, a missed touch, or a messed up first touch, or whatever. And that's not what they're doing. They're basically looking to Thomas Mueller to say, all right, now we go. And then they all go. And that's impressive to me because it kind of puts the proverbial ball back in your own court in terms of when, and you don't have this kind of like, spider web of guys running all over the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was that?
I don't know. I thought you were just being demonstrative when it came to Thomas Mueller. And that's, but the thing is like leaders don't have to lead by yelling and by barking on the practice field.
Right. And that's, sorry, I don't know what that noise was that came through. I was like, what?
I heard nothing, sir.
Okay. Well, then I'll look crazy. There was some kind of noise. So anyway, I'm tripping. we'll continue. That was
It's all the meds you're on.
I guess. Wild feedback or something. Anyway,
got nothing.
So, but no, I mean, I was on one too. So anyway, Thomas Mueller, yes, he doesn't have to be the guy that's yelling and screaming from the center of the pitch. He doesn't have to do all that. He becomes quite literally, we throw the term around metronome a lot.
Yeah.
But like,
see, now that was the word that was literally in my head before you said it. I literally had metronome here and it came out there.
Yeah, there you go. See, so maybe that's what it was. It was trying to escape through my computer speakers to get to me.
Right there.
But yeah, I mean, I just, he's taken a team that was already pretty disciplined and pretty solid and just elevated everything. Because you always run that risk, right? Like you bring in a guy who is stepping into a team that's already pretty good, and they could actually disrupt things and make it not effective, like we saw with Olivier Giroud. Like, just a guy doesn't fit, and that's not the case with Mueller. He comes in and he steps into this team and immediately just settles in. Doesn't try to come in and change a whole bunch. He just says, "Hey, I'm going to bring you my strengths from being the guy at Bayern Munich for the past 15 years and being one of the guys at the German national team for the past 15 years. And I want to help. I want to come in and just add what I can to this team." They're lucky to have him. And even more so, Sebastian Berhalter is lucky to have that guy as a mentor, because he may very well be inadvertently the reason that Sebastian Berhalter makes it to the World Cup.
And there's a question for Dell in the Twitch pitch. We'll get to it in a second. Here's Thomas Mueller, by the way, after the Western Conference Final. So you're talking about metronomes. You're talking about Thomas Mueller. Here's Thomas Mueller after the San Diego match, discussing the next steps, discussing that match, and discussing everything coming into this week as they head to the Erector set.
Oh, it's good enough. It's always good enough. Until now, the medical staff did a great job to get me in for tonight. And not only medical staff, we're a really good group. All the players and all the guys and are involved are doing a really good job. And yeah, I think we'll be fine until next week. Yeah, I have one more week now, and no, I'm very positive and optimistic to be in shape next week.
Your track record, I guess, is so good.
Yeah, but it's the past. Huh? That's the past. That's history. I want to keep going for sure. I know about my games against Messi, but I also lost against him, and it's not about Messi against Thomas Mueller. It's Miami against the Whitecaps. So maybe they rely a little bit more on him than we do on me, because we are such a good group. You know what I mean? I try to keep it together, and I think the boys are appreciating it as well. But you could see it on the pitch today. We had some great actions offensively and defensively, and I'm very, very proud to be part of this group.
And there you go. And to your point, it's almost like you were looking at my shot sheet about what I had available. And it was, but yeah, Thomas Mueller, once again, deflecting the obvious question about, it's because it's not Messi versus Mueller. And I know that a lot of folks are going to look at that and think that there's going to be some kind of immediate relationship where Mueller might be the one to try and slam a door or something like that. But immediately when that question was asked of Thomas Mueller, he completely and totally just brings it back to the team. He's happy to be a part of everything here, and he's focused on team, and it's not just one big name versus big name heading into the Erector set on the weekend.
Yeah, and I think for everything that we just said, I get what he was trying to make a point about there, because all season long it definitely has been Vancouver as just a good team. And he steps in and just kind of helps them out. But in these playoffs, admittedly, Miami hasn't been quite as reliant on Messi to be where they're at.
No shots on goal in the last game. But, but
he's still doing a lot of the work, getting them into very good positions. And then you have, guys like Silvetti, making runs. You have guys that are just stepping up in ways that Luis Suarez was not. And I don't mean that. Like, I say a lot of jokes about Suarez, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think the profile of player that you have up top now is what this Miami team needed, because look, Suarez he's dealing with very, very old and destroyed knees. He cannot make the runs. He's got the IQ and he can make the types of runs, but he's not going to beat anybody in a foot race anymore. And sometimes that's what this game very simply comes down to, is you just got to beat a center back, get to a ball because you have the best player in the world putting the ball on a platter for you.
Mhm.
So you just got to get there first. And Suarez is not going to be that guy. So when the changes were made, when Javier Mascherano, who I have been very critical of throughout the regular season, and I will remain critical of about the regular season, I will give him all the plaudits and praise in the world for the changes that he has made, even if one of them was forced. But all the changes he has made in terms of the starting lineup going out of the regular season and into the playoffs, I got to give him credit where it's due, because he's made the right moves to make it look easy for Miami to make it to this final.
Yeah, with Allende and Silvetti up top, you now can press folks out of the building.
Yep.
And you can have your 4 1 2 3 4. You can have your 4 2 4 2 what 4 2 or 4 3 1 2, whatever you want to call
4, 3,
it.
1, 2. That's
Meaning if Messi drops back and turns into that deeper
Yep.
playing 9, however you want to phrase it, because that it could be a 5-3-2 if Sergi Busquets drops back. So it could look like a bunch of different things. Yes. So whatever the graphic is, it's fine. The graphic is the graphic until the whistle blows. But you now have, literally Silvetti and Allende. It's like you sit there and it's like the old toy. You sit there, you wind it up, and you just sit there, and it's like you plant it, and then you just pull the trigger and they go. When you got two youngins that are one of them 19. And they're it's like, look, run, go get the ball, and force turnovers on defense, and we'll press them out of the building with those two up top, and then everybody else that wants to come in from behind. And then when we want to release the hounds and go offensively, and we've been playing the third Allende goal all week, because it's the shining example of a deeper Messi and the speed that's there with a Tadeo Allende. They're dangerous, and you've got to figure out where, if you are Jesper Sorensen, where you want to pick your poison. Are you going to try to pressure Messi and collapse on him and create positional gravity toward a Sergi Busquets behind, a Jordi Alba to your left? You're going to try to go over the top and challenge the back line that's going to get Tristan Blackman back in this matchup. The chess for me is going to be very intriguing.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all week too. I'm excited about this final, and I think like last year, the final, I was like, I don't really want to see the Red Bulls play soccer anymore. And that was
You're not allowed to play soccer, sir.
But this year, I'm like, there's so many different ways you can look at this match. Like from the, I guess the absolute chaos point. This one as a neutral has every bit of like a UFC pay-per-view, like main event type feel to it.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I'm not a UFCer, so you'll have to explain your analogy.
Well, I mean, all right, Tyson and Holyfield type situation.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah. So I think like it's got that feel to it. So just if you don't care about either one of these teams, if you don't care about Messi and or Mueller, it's still going to be a good game. It'll be a good soccer game. But for like the soccer nerds, like those of us that like want to sit here, and yes, I'm looping you into that. So I'm sorry I called you a nerd.
Dude, that was the clique I was in high school, so it's perfectly fine.
It works. All right.
We were the only ones that sat in the lunchroom waiting for first bell, man.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's your first clue.
Mm-hmm.
I was right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, I think from like a nerd, kind of soccer IQ chess match standpoint, this one has a lot to watch out for. And you've kind of seen both teams modify a little bit of like how they play in the playoffs compared to how they were in the regular season, which you have to do because it is the playoffs. Like this is a whole different season. Miami has, to your point, been pressing wildly. Like it is wild how hard they were pressing, especially New York City. It was like, I mean, they were all over them. They would not allow them to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And you can afford to do that here in the
Oh, let
playoffs.
that bastard breathe.
Yeah, just not let them go. But they do it very well. Now, New York City is not a team that, though they did give a pretty good account of themselves in the first half, they're not a team that's going to try to play through everything. And I think they started to get a little overwhelmed, which is what Miami wanted. And it finally, fell apart. That third goal kind of was it. And then it just, all the crap rolled downhill from there.
Ooh.
Vancouver, on the other hand, they can play through that. And they will probably try to in the beginning to set the tone and set the pace of the match. They're going down to Fort Lauderdale. They are going to be in front of a very hostile crowd. I think just like what they did in San Diego, they're going to want to slow everything down, and you don't have a better player than Thomas Müller to do that. So I think, yeah, as far as the IQ, the soccer, the chess match kind of situation, I'm curious to see the first 5 minutes, how both teams try to handle the ball. And then that next 15 minutes is like, that's the sweet spot for me. Cause I'm curious to see what obviously both coaches, but really Mueller and Messi do to kind of adjust and trigger different things and get other players involved.
Tyler Pilgrim from at Scarves and Spikes hanging out with us for another 10 minutes or so. And it's I am intrigued because of, what Messi can do, what Mueller has become as a part of the collective. And it literally is like the Borg, the soccer Borg being Vancouver, I guess. It's one of those things where you just assimilate individuals and they work on the collective and everything is fine and they just lay waste to everybody else. I am truly intrigued by this matchup for a bunch of different reasons, because we know the backline of Messi and friends. We know that some of them, depending on who starts, you could have walking yellow cards. You could force folks into disastrous decisions, and you have the speed and the ability for Vancouver. If they get behind that backline of Messi and friends, then they have to react. And we've seen what Chelo Wegan does when he can react sometimes, and Maxi Falcone when he reacts the way that he does sometimes. So, I'm interested to see if Vancouver can get behind the back line by going long and seeing the speed go that way, and then having Messi and the ground game working their way through with the imagination. It's like there are a bunch of different ways that you can see the offense happening for both of these sides. And I am truly intrigued by this.
You go back to the first goal that Vancouver scored against LAFC. They had played through and around LA all through the first half and made them look silly doing it. Actually, like the way Vancouver was playing in that first half was enlightening. I loved watching it. And we were kind of having these conversations because we were doing a watch along at the time about how they just look so good playing through. They've had opportunities, but then they didn't finish them. And then all of a sudden there's a long ball sent over the top, and it is a one touch, essentially, kind of chip over the top. And so you went from kind of lulling the other team in with the run game, essentially, and then all of a sudden you hit them with a good pass, and that was what made it 1-0.
It's like, who are you, Navy? All of a sudden,
yeah, out of nowhere,
you're running the veer, and then all of a sudden the tight end goes and runs a seam route, and you're like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, where did he go? what is going on? But whether that was by design, I do like to think it was, at least to a degree. I don't know that they thought it was going to come off that effective, because it was. I mean, everything about that pass was perfect, and the chip. But it does kind of, after 40 minutes or however long it was of doing the same thing and just trying to stay on top of a team that is playing through you almost effortlessly. It is easy as a defender to get lulled into a quote unquote habit of just trying to, push up a little bit because you're trying to
stop the run, cheat on the end. They're going to go guard, tackle, A gap. And it's like, okay, you cheat on the run. You think you're going to blitz, and then that time you blitz is when they go behind.
They go, exactly. And then that's exactly what happened. And they went, and then all of a sudden you've got a guy going the other way, and you're like, oh crap, I got to get caught up to him. And he's already behind you, and all he's got to do is get a touch to it, and then it's game over. And that's exactly what happened. So it's just little things like that. Like Vancouver, they do so well with it. It's the tempo. And the one controlling that tempo is Thomas Mueller. And I will say, though, even if Mueller doesn't make it through the entire 90 or 120 or whatever, because he is kind of nursing something, Sebastian Berhalter has not been a slouch with a lot of this either. And he has been learning from the best. And also, he has apparently leveled up to a different level entirely.
He's a tremendous slouch. Come on. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. With set pieces and free kicks. So that would be something else I would keep an eye on as well. If somebody gets fouled anywhere near the box, keep an eye out for what kind of trickery Vancouver might try to pull.
Okay, so Dell's question from the timeline. Do you think any of our American players will try and make a move in the offseason, or is it too tricky with the World Cup coming? I'm guessing when it comes to try to figure out, will you Dell, if I'm misunderstanding the direction of the question, is it, players that are currently on the national team, would they be making moves back toward Major League Soccer and trying to come home, basically, so they would be closer to home as you're getting involved in a World Cup situation? I think that's where Dell was going.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think so. I know I just said I think so. I was agreeing with your interpretation of the question.
Yeah.
I don't think you would really have any. I mean, I think if I'm understanding the question right, I think.
So yeah, here we go. So if USMNT players that are having a great season would move to Europe on a transfer in January, or could they do so on loan and they keep playing in the offseason? If Sebastian continues to do well, would he want to try and test the waters in Europe, or would he want to stay in Major League Soccer?
No, I would, in almost every scenario, think they would want to stay here. And I would even argue the reverse.
Yeah.
And that there are some in Europe that might actually want to be open to a move here. Obviously, the name Gio Reyna always gets brought up. Gio Reyna, I think, more or less is going to be a lock no matter what. But Gio Reyna eventually is going to have to decide whether he likes the bench more or playing for a club. And so like that's one of those where I feel like if he were to just suck it up and come back here, he would be a locked-in starter pretty much anywhere he goes. And Pochettino has already made it very clear he values playing time over who you're playing for or what league you're playing in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think if anything, they would be looking to stay here where they've been effective, where they're getting pretty good minutes, and where they can continue to show. Because at the end of the day, this is the backyard of U.S. soccer, and Pochettino is looking very heavily in this area. And he's already shown he's brought in a couple of guys that, again, they weren't I mean, maybe they were on the fringe of getting minutes, but now you've got a few who've taken those minutes that he gave them, and they're very likely going to get called up for the actual World Cup roster.
Yeah. And we also got word yesterday, and obviously it's kind of drifting into today as well, that you're going to have some friendlies. You're going to have you some friendlies at Mercedes-Benz. So I am intrigued, nay, enthusiastic about the idea of having them here. So you get a couple of teasers heading into the cup that the world is chasing after in 26 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's never a bad thing.
Never, especially whether you love or hate Portugal and the person that plays for Portugal.
And CR40, yeah,
that guy.
Just watch out for the elbows.
Yeah, elbows and
not that it would matter.
Yeah, but we'll see. And I think the other interesting part about that too is that'll be the first, I think, real international that will be played on the actual grass that'll be in the World Cup.
Yeah. Apparently it's not like the grass, but they're bringing in grass. So I think it's it's grass adjacent. It's summer grass adjacent, I think, is what it's going to be.
So what I was told, and this went up on the website a while ago. And I don't think anything has changed. I've not been told anything has changed, but whereas, the She Believes grass and even the Copa America grass and the Club World Cup grass, like all of that, was only going to be here for a short time. So it was brought in, laid down, and kept alive, seamed together. This is going to be brought in, different type of grass. The base is going to be slightly different. So it is actually growing as a full field. And then they will have the UV lights pretty much being used constantly from whenever they put it in, January, February, whatever, all the way up through the World Cup. So it'll be an actual field of grass and not a whole bunch of stuff kind of patched together.
Yeah. Like we had for Club World Cup last year. Friday. How big is Friday for this generation of soccer follower fan, regardless of age? I mean, we're blowing it up, obviously, in the network because you should.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, and from the conversations that you've been having, how blanking big is Friday in the grand scheme of things for U.S. soccer, for soccer here in the Southeast, for soccer here at U.S. Soccer headquarters in the Southern Crescent? How big is today, and can you oversell? I don't think you can, but can you oversell a day like Friday that means as much as it does?
No, you can't oversell it. I think it's kind of like, and I'll bring it to Atlanta in a different way. It's kind of like we had the NWSL 2028 announcement, right? Where it's like, oh, this is so exciting. But we knew good and well that after that really, really cool night in the announcement, there was going to be a lull in the news and in the excitement, just because that's how it goes. And Friday is going to be massive because it is going to be the moment that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, like millions, make plans for June and July. And you're going to kind of figure out, all right, like if you're a fan of this team, or if you're that's your country, whatever, you now know where you're going. And as a kid, kind of being able to see that if your family is planning on going to a match, or even if you're just doing a watch party at home, or like in the city or whatever, and you're a soccer fan, or you're even on the fringe of being a soccer fan, this is a moment now you have something to really look forward to, because you know who to watch for, what teams to watch for at specific locations. And so no, it can't be overdone. I think this should absolutely be the moment where US Soccer, FIFA pull out all the stops. And I mean, we've gotten the news about it's like some artists being there, and like Kevin Hart's going to be there for the draw and stuff like that. Like, that's cool. Bring the star power. But for me,
I'm going to hit mute. It's like, all right, let's go back to where we were.
Yeah. But I think just from a pride standpoint, it's just, this is a moment to show off to the world. Like, all right, everybody knows you're coming here. Everybody knows where you're going. And now we all get to find out who is going where. And so that's the final puzzle piece until everything starts. So like, this is it. Once this is done, then it's planning. It's figuring out where we're going to go, who we're going to see, what stadium we're going to be at, what hotel we're going to be staying in, a whole 9 yards.
How much money we're spending on said hotel.
Exactly. So yeah, just like you said, I mean, it's going to be, we're doing a lot of stuff for it, getting ready to release some stuff on Friday as well. But just the event itself, man, it's just exciting. It's a great time to be a soccer fan here.
So if you had your druthers, who would you like to see wander into Mercedes-Benz for one of the group matches? Who do you want to have come in for that cameo that you want to see? Because people have done the simulators, and some of the simulators have been wrong, but whatever. But I mean, if the simulators work, who would you like to have drifting into Mercedes-Benz Stadium come the summer, just so you can take Marta and go watch?
I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say the U.S. I would love to see the U.S. play in like the actual World Cup in my stadium.
Never heard of it.
I would also be very intrigued by Japan. Love to see Japan. And I think actually, and I would. There's two. Not that these could happen, but either Portugal or Germany.
Okay. So like in that knockout game, that's as a part of the pathway or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, in addition to the heavyweights, heavyweights are going to be dropping by. Give me a minnow. Give me a minnow and give me Scott.
Yeah.
Give me somebody like Cabo Verde. Give me somebody like Uzbekistan. Give me somebody that's new, and then give me Scotland, because I want to hear in a closed Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I want to hear "Flower of Scotland"
Yeah.
just reverberate and bounce in that building, and what it would sound like to have Scotland and their supporters singing "Flower of Scotland" before a match in that building.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I would love to see like Scotland for sure, being part Scottish.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I'm right there with you. Clan McPherson. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Not McGregor. Montgomery. Sorry, I'm tripping.
My mom was a senior archivist with the state of Georgia, and so her big thing is doing family trees. And so we go back to the Godwin family at the American Revolution coming in Massachusetts, and we also go back to Clan McPherson back in Scotland. So I'm half Scottish, half Scandinavian.
Okay, I don't have as much Scandinavian, but the Scottish, Clan Montgomery.
Okay,
so, there you go. Learn something new every day. Hopefully we weren't like at war,
No, that would not have gone over well. So what are the plans at SNS as we get ready for Friday?
So we'll have our show tonight. We've got over the course of the week, one's already out. We'll have a couple more coming out, but just kind of previews with some folks that cover Miami, folks that cover Vancouver, and then we have one to tie it all together with Jake Ziven, who'll be down there calling game with Twellman.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a good chat with him, and that'll be released. I think we got it set for tomorrow.
Okay,
so that's on the channel. Show tonight at 7. We have our Christmas merch.
Look at that,
which is great, by the way. It's look at that. I mean, it's just like the ugly sweater situation.
The ugly sweater mug.
And then Friday, Sid he's actually going up to DC for the draw.
Okay.
So he will be kind of giving some content articles and stuff from up there. And then we've got a World Cup hub that we'll have kind of coming out on Friday as well.
Good deal. All right. Well, go hydrate, go get your coffee, go get cup number 2, get better, because business is going to pick up toward the end of the week for something called the World Cup. As always, my friend, great to see you. Glad you made it through the holiday, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you.
There we go. Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes. Hot tag. And time to bring in our buddy Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com. Dylan, when it comes to an MLS Cup week, does business pick up from a writing and a content and just investigating everything and all the sidebars and everything? How different is an MLS Cup week at MLSsoccer.com than it is, say, normally when you have 19 different matches on a match day?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say, it's busier than usual. I mean, during, I don't know, match week 7, you have your usual match week content, right? So you've got goal of the week or goal of the match day, team of the match day, power rankings, all those fun things. Obviously you don't have these things now in the postseason. But for Cup, I mean, especially when you have global icons, right, leading the way. There's going to be, and they have, quite a history between them. I feel like this is especially busy because, of course, it's a messy MLS Cup, but also there are so many storylines between these, two clubs, both chasing a first cup, both first-year head coaches, like playing 6 trillion games combined this year. Like there's a million, the retirements of Busquets and Alba, and so there's obviously so many different angles to attack this game from, which will lead to additional content.
Yeah, and so when what has been, and you might still be in the process of discovering it. What has been your favorite story of this week leading into this match that has been either discovered, soon to be written, already written and posted? What's your favorite stories and storylines of the week?
I mean, I generally like the kind of team, the journey stories. Like I like those, and it's interesting just the journeys that these two teams have taken. I mean, for Vancouver, I mean, how many obstacles did they have to overcome this year, right? I mean, how many times first of all, we wrote them off before the start of the year. Like, how do you get rid of Vanni Sartini? Like, come on.
Exactly.
They were, nobody expected them to be top of the table. Then all of a sudden we see them early on with this great, CONCACAF Champions Cup run. And they fall short in the final, but then you're like, yep, that CCC, that kills every team. Look at all these other teams before that they've killed,
mm-hmm.
and that didn't happen. And then you're like, oh my goodness, Ryan Gauld is out. There goes the season. He's the leading. Oh no, that didn't happen. Brian White, Hampshire, that's your leading scorer. You guys can't. What, you sold Vite? Come on, he's been like your best midfielder. Like all of these kind of pitfalls, right? If it's like a video game, like you're dying on that level, and then
it's pitfall.
Yeah, it is. And they have emerged better each time, which is remarkable for this team. And then obviously, look, Thomas Mueller comes in and just changes the dynamic, and he just is this, like, so many times we've seen stars come into this league, and I go back to, days, like I covered Thierry Henry and Yuri Zhorkaev and, David Villa and like Pirlo and like all these big stars, and they come in and they're kind of like, no one has come into this league with the resume or the CV, as they would say in Europe,
mm-hmm.
of a Thomas Mueller, and has been more like generally like acting like a kid, like talking to everybody and giving great quotes. Like if there's a guy who gets the selling of this league and the product and even just gets the storylines, it's him, right? I mean, how many times you hear whatever the sport may be, right? Yeah, it's it's LeBron against, so like, no, it's not about me, it's about the team, it's about, and he's like, no, I get it, I understand, it's me and Messi, yeah, we played a bunch of times, I beat him a bunch of times, like next round, like, he gives you the soundbite, right, that you want. He gives you the headline that you want.
Then not so much. But that's the thing. It's like Thomas Mueller, and one of the things that has always stuck with me about this run is that he just wants to be one of the guys.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here as a part of the deal. But I think that one of the cool moments for me that hasn't been talked about a lot was in the LAFC match. Match is over, chaos is on the field in front of 54,000 at BC Place. And Mueller makes the point as the team is streaming out onto the field. Mueller starts to walk out onto the field. Then he looks back and he sees Bilal Halbouni sitting on the cooler.
Yeah.
And it's because Halbouni, and I think he was diagnosed with a bone contusion, was, I think, the official diagnosis, I think, about a week ago. And so he's out for another 6 weeks. But the fact that Thomas Mueller, who's the new kid at school, he's trying to figure out what table to sit at, at lunch, and try to figure out, do I sit here? And he ends up sitting at every table in the lunchroom by the time you're done. But in a big win like that, Thomas Mueller wants to go out and celebrate, but he keeps Bilal Halbouni as a part of the celebration. He goes back and hugs Halbouni, who can't move. He's stuck sitting on that cooler, he hugs Halbuni before he goes out and celebrates with the team to include an injured player who can't go out there and celebrate. I thought that was a really cool thing that kind of gives a peek into what Thomas Mueller means to this group now.
Yeah, and I think his personality, even within that dressing room, I think has made them a collective better team, because often when you get, that global superstar who's won everything, what's your and you see we've seen it with Miami, like what's the immediate thing? Let's give him the ball.
Yeah.
Is it the best situation? No, who cares? Give him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he's like, listen, I'm just like you said, I'm just one of the guys. Like, don't worry about, what I've won before. Like, we're in this together. We're playing this as a team. And he showed it there. And by the way, that's another pitfall, right? Blackman, MLS Defender of the Year, suspended against, LAFC with Sun and Bowanga, and doesn't, he gets a red card in that match. So now you finish that match with 9. Now he's suspended for the semifinal. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They still find a way.
Yeah. And it's almost like Vancouver has turned into the Terminator. They're the T-1000 here with everything that they have gone through. And I know, obviously you get the Blackman second yellow, you're having to play 30 without him. Then it ends up having to play 60 without him. Then we mentioned the Halbuni injury, the chaos in the second overtime, the second overtime period, where literally it was, it's like dodgeball when you're in high school. Literally, it's like you've got even the movie where you had the villains chasing after the average Joes, and literally they're just humming the ball at everybody, and they're smashing people in the face with the dodgeball and everything. But the average Joes just kind of hang out, and they lasted through that LAFC match. I don't know how, though. I'm still shocked with the LAFC result. But hey, look, they're the T-1000 coming into this thing. What do Messi and friends do to try to get rid of the T-1000? How does this happen?
Well, I mean, it started for Miami. I think their shift into a new gear happened when Mascherano showed some cojones, right? And said, yeah, I know, I also see your resume, Luis Suarez, but, well, first of all, I mean, to be fair, that decision was made for him to start. Suarez suspended. We've got to fill that that hole. They do. And then the decision came, like, all right, what are you going to do now? Suarez is back from suspension, and he's like, no, we're sticking with it. And that trio up front has led to an unbelievable production, right? All Argentine, right? 2 from the same neighborhood, many years apart, but they've taken their game to another level. And now, you've got this, if this game goes beyond 90, or if it's, you're trailing by a goal, now, look at, you got El Pistolero coming out off the bench, right? As like the ultimate super sub. So
it's like having Vinny Johnson from the
yeah, exactly.
And sorry, that's your Google search for today, kids.
Yeah, that's the microwave is his name.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So yeah, I think that's been their transformation, and kind of they're more comfortable, I think, in their skin as a result. It's kind of like, everyone on the outside's like, yeah, I think we're better without him. No, but how do we do this? Because he's like the guy, And then fortunate again, the decision was made to begin with. So now you have a 90-minute window or a 90-minute sample size of how it works without him, and it worked unbelievably well. So just roll with it, right?
Yeah, and you have I think it's the 2 back lines, I think, is what we have to look at here, because we know how porous Messi and friends back line can be, and
they've been better, certainly, right, in the postseason. Like, Listen, they weren't perfect against NYCFC. Like you go back to that match and everyone's like, wow, what a blowout. Yeah, but look at how that match changed. And that's another decision, right? In terms of the goalkeeping, where it's another seemingly difficult decision when you look at, again, resumes of goalkeepers, but that was a switch that was made, and it was one that has worked. And now you go back to that match. He makes an unbelievable one-handed diving save, right at what was it, 2-1 at that point, or is that going to be the equalizer for NYCFC? I forgot.
I think it was the I think it was the equalizer. I think you're right.
So you go from potentially NYCFC equalizing when Inter Miami wasn't looking very good at that point to they march down the field. They get the next goal, so it's that big swing. And now they ride that momentum down the stretch, and there's a barrage of goals. But it wouldn't have happened had it not been for that save. But yeah, like the story of the whole year was Miami's going to win 5-4, right? Every match kind of thing, and Messi's going to score 4 and have an assist. He still put up ridiculous production, obviously, in this postseason, but they've been better at the back. And obviously, too, Vancouver's, we mentioned it had to weather, storms and injury situations and deal with their thing, but they're also very good at the back too. So, I think a lot of times, look, obviously the Stars get all the accolades before the match, and when we tune in at 2:30 or 2:00 or whatever it is for pregame, like you're gonna the talk immediately will be about Messi and Emilio, and you'll see them walking off the buses and that whole shot. But
Messi is walking.
but often, will he or will he not have his mate with him?
He'll have it. He'll have his mate and his bodyguard. So literally,
yes,
it'll be mate in one hand
and his on-field bodyguard in DePaul.
Yes, and sidebar for those that can do the detective work. Apparently, those who are pretty decent at lip reading have found the conversation that Maxi Morales, Rodrigo de Paul, and Lionel Messi had, and it has been put out there. I can't say any of it. I can't, unless I want the E rating and have it be there for like 9 minutes. Someone has gone in and analyzed that tape, and they have put the text of translated what that conversation was among the three of them. And oh my God.
Yeah. If you can share that off air with me, I'd love to see that.
I will certainly send it to your email because I did not know. Once again, sidebar. I did not know about the size of the fortitude of Maxi Morales, and it showed in that conversation with Rodrigo de Paul and Lionel Messi. And most of it was directed at Rodrigo de Paul and his on-field bodyguardness of Lionel Messi. So I will grab that conversation. Jason
I look forward to that.
And
that was a lengthy one. That was like a good 10 minutes. It felt like.
Mm-hmm. And the text of the part that could be seen on camera, where you could analyze what the three of them were saying to one another, it is out there. Jason found it. I'll send it to you. But yeah, if you want an E rating for any show and you read that transcript, yeah. But I did not know the size of the fortitude that Maxi Morales had when it came to dealing with conversations with individuals like Rodrigo de Paul and Lionel Messi, and just treating them kind of like dudes that you meet in a pickup game out on Randall's Island. I mean,
Maxi's he's built differently.
Absolutely true. Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, dropping by to preview MLS Cup. And, we've been talking about Javier Mascherano. We've been discussing everything with him, and where there were all the doubters at the beginning of the season.
Oh, sorry. So before your sidebar,
yes, sir.
I was saying, like, you'll see the Stars coming in, and the whole talk of Cup is going to be about the Stars. But so often in a Cup situation, it's the guy that maybe not like,
Yeah.
you know, the one that no one's ever heard of guy, but like it's the other guys that sometimes affect it more. I'm thinking like you know, Ali Ahmed, you know, could have a big impact in this game, right? Or, you know, obviously Berhalter is maybe what storyline 2, 3, or 4, if you will, for Vancouver.
Yeah.
But there's those kind of guys, right? That I think could have a big impact in this game. He's been great as well in this postseason.
Yep. So I have one of my other storylines. So yeah, Dell down in Charleston, he goes, yeah, Maxi called Rodrigo de Paul a coward for not staying at Racing to win the Copa Libertadores and coming to Miami for a vacation. Literally, that's part of it. But let's put it this way: Dell kind of sanitized the language a little bit, and that's just a small part of this conversation. Messi was asking Morales for respect, and Maxi was focused on locking in on Rodrigo de Paul and just dropping bombs on RDP this entire time. But yeah, I'll find it. So if Dell has found it, it's out there, but I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
that's part of this. But to your point of the keepers, Rocco Rios Novo, who we know here in this footprint from his time with Atlanta United, and Rocco got the start with the Snidely Whiplash mustache that he's always had, and he has time here with Atlanta United. Then he goes to Phoenix, wins the USL Championship with Phoenix Rising, and then goes to be a part of the keeping carousel that they have in South Florida, where it was Calendar. Then he was injured.
Yeah.
Then they bring in Oscar Ustari, and they bring in Rocco Rios Novo. Then they bring in William Yarborough, and then they send Calendar to Charlotte, where Drake Calendar is now a part of a keeper discussion. I'm not calling it a controversy yet, but Calendar, in some various stage of health, is now up in Charlotte as a 1A or a 1B, battling Christian Kalina. So the team had 4 keepers under contract at one point. Your first keeper that had gotten you through points, he gets injured. You move him to the side. You bring in Rocco from USL Championship. You go to Argentina, where it's a known place where you can bring in someone who's in their late 30s, and Oscar Ustari, give you that stabilizing influence. And then you bring in William Yarborough, because why not? And you end up with Rocco Rios Novo coming up big in moments like you were discussing to keep the game at 2-1 and keep it from being 2-2, which I think could have slid momentum toward NYCFC's way if they get that past Rocco, but Rocco came up big in that moment. And I think Rocco and Takaoka, I think that if you look at those two between the sticks, I'm going to be intrigued to see how they respond to a moment this size.
No, I agree. I think it's one of the, again, so many storylines, right? It's one of the fun sidebars, I think, of this one. it's the 2 keepers. You know, it's the midfields, right? In this one as well, and then it's also decisions by the coaches on substitutes, right? Like we said, is Suarez going to come in and make an impact off the bench? Ryan Gauld, you know, could we see him make an impact off the bench? Yeah, no, I think I think certainly, obviously, look, it's you know, you put Messi in an MLS Cup, I think it's going to be the most watched MLS Cup. But I think it has the potential to be an entertaining one as well, right? Just the way the 2 teams play as well.
Yeah. So are you anticipating, as much as we talk about offense from these two, is it going to be one of those where the under would be the play with juice boxes and the keepers come up big, or is it going to be one of those where the over comes into play, you think?
Yeah, I'd love it to be like a 3-2 or something like that. I think a goal early might help that out, right? Maybe something in the first 30 minutes. But from what we've seen from these two, I think they're just going to go at it, right? Like, they certainly weren't close to the vest, and it feels, again, a million years ago, but in the CCC semifinals, right, when Vancouver crushed Miami, was it a 5-1 aggregate? You know, they went for it right away. So I think it's going to be the same. And I think also from that experience already, I think there's going to be bite to it as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think there'll be more conversations with DePaul and others in this one too. Maybe he'll have a conversation with Kubas, or we'll see.
Yep. 3.5 right now is a plus 103. 4.5 is a plus 237, and that's when it kind of takes off. Is it about 4.5? So that's for those of you that are into your juice boxes. That's your over under numbers right now, and the number for Messi and Friends is kind of stuck about the same at a plus 132 ish. That really hasn't moved a whole heck of a lot, but Vancouver has ducked under a plus 300 now. They were at like plus 320 earlier in the week. So folks with their juice boxes are kind of working toward Vancouver right now. They're now under in the composite, plus 300 at a plus 294. 90-minute draws a plus 308. I'm leaning 90-minute draw, and it's going to take longer than 90 minutes.
Okay. I think it'll be decided at 90.
I have no scientific evidence to support what I'm thinking, but I legitimately that's what I think, because these two teams are going to be trading haymakers for 90 minutes. That's why I think it's going to go longer than 90. I don't think it's going to be settled in that. So to your point, if it's not about X's and O's, it's about Jimmy's and Joe's. Give me somebody of those second-level guys, obviously away from the star power, so you can't include Messi and Mueller. You can't include any of the Gulfstream Galacticos, not Jordi Alba, not Busquets, none of the high name guys. So who would be your players to focus on for Messi and Friends and for Vancouver that are not the shiny objects? Who would be the ones that you're going to sit there and it's like, I'm going to keep an eye on this dude over here and this dude over here?
Well, I mean, I'm there's so many of those for Miami. The ones that you don't want me to choose from, it's hard to go somewhere else in Miami. But I will say this, for full disclosure, I have Vancouver winning in my bracket.
Okay. Yes.
I'm all in on Vancouver winning. So I'm gonna again go to Ali Ahmed. I think he's on another level right now. I think his ability to run at backlines will cause havoc. He will be a menace running at defenders, and I think he'll create situations, either goals for himself or others. But I think he'll, he could be one of those guys that when this thing is over, could have 2 assists. He could have a goal and 2 assists kind of guy, like he could have one of those kind of games.
Okay. Plans for MLSsoccer.com and what you guys are doing the rest of the week, getting ready for 2:30, 42, 45, 50, 55 come Saturday afternoon. I don't know what it is. That's why I was just
so I usually have on weekend mornings I have a shift, so I'm just pushing the time of that shift up a little bit to like 11. It's like a 3-hour window that I'm on, so then it'll be 11 to 2 and then right into the match. So the usual is we're gonna post the starting lineups when they arrive, and any other interesting content. We'll have boots on the ground, and I'll be here in the home office. Of course, there's also, go figure, a World Cup draw the day before. Super fun.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll be focusing a lot on that.
And the schedule comes out at 12:30.
Yeah, yay.
So
couldn't come out another day, but that's fine.
Yeah, so 2 hours before MLS Cup.
I will be that. You know what? You reminded me. That's what I'll be doing.
Okay.
I'll be dealing with inputting all those matches.
Oh,
probably.
Godspeed, my friend. What's the mug this morning?
Oh, we got a little goldfish.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yes, there we go. Be a goldfish. And so won't be a goldfish once the schedule for the 2026 World Cup is posted and get ready to MLS Cup. Great to see you, my friend, as always. We love seeing you and catching up with you about anything and everything going on. I will send you the link to that conversation with Maxi Morales, Rodrigo de Paul, and Lionel Messi.
Looking forward to that.
Oh, it's colorful. It is definitely E-rating when it comes to this show. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right, there goes Dylan Butler. I've got to send him that conversation. Dell, you read it. You know what it looks like. And good morning, Rich, by the way. There have been a couple of signings. Nashville signed a defender, I want to say, from the Norwegian League. And they are the comparison from West Bowling is that of like a Jason Palacios type. And so a lot of work there. And Rich is letting us know that the Philadelphia Union have signed forward Ezekiel Alado. And so Alado now is a part of Philadelphia, and a long-term deal from another one of the teams that didn't beat our friends at Mjölby. Swedish side IF Brahma Poikarna. Acquisition, largest transfer fee in club history, guaranteed through 28, club options 29 and 30. Ghanaian forward, he will be added to the roster following receipt of the ITC and the P1 visa, occupying an international roster spot. Bradley Carnell with a couple of quotes, a 6'3" forward, so he's a tall drink of water up front. And with the Brahma Poikarna, 8+1 in 32 appearances, recently scored the game winner against Göteborg in an away match in late September, played in the Ghanaian Premier League with Accra Lions, 3+1 in 14, after joining from Atlantic Sports Academy in 2024, made his professional debut in September of 24, scored 2 weeks later in his first match in the league. And Brahma Poikarna, for those that may not know, according to Philadelphia Union, Victor Gyökeres, Dejan Kulusevski, Lucas Bergvall. So that's the history from IF Brahma Poikarna, who didn't beat Mjölby in the Allsvenskan. By the way, they have a new head coach. We got to track him down. Ezekiel Alado, once again, 6'3", 170 out of Ghana, through 28, options for 29 and 30. It is the club record signing for Philadelphia Union. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. All right, so the rest of the show this morning. Niko Moreno is going to join us in a little bit. He's in for a solid 20 because he has to take folks to school. And I mean that literally, he has to put like family in the back of a car and go to school. Not like he's going to teach, he's not like he's going to wag his finger at folks and teach lessons about the sport of soccer or anything like that. But no, in the office. So Niko will join us in just a little bit. And then we will, after that, we'll catch up with Sue Patberg, the head coach for the Emory Eagles on the women's side as they get ready for the Final Four. They are heading to Salem, Virginia, and getting ready for their matchup against Tufts on the right-hand side of the bracket, while they get to wait on everybody else on the left-hand side of the bracket, chasing after a title in NCAA Division III. So that is the remainder of the show. Then once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and we'll get you ready for everything going on in and around the planet. News out of the NWSL, Haley Carter has now been named president of soccer operations for Washington Spirit, and they've promoted Nathan Minion to general manager. She is now the PSO, CSO, Spirit promoting Minion to GM. And as president of soccer operations, she'll serve as the club's senior sporting exec, responsible for defining and executing the long-term vision and strategic plan for the Spirit's soccer operations, overseeing technical performance and player development functions, working closely with ownership in the NWSL to align strategy, culture, and resources for sustained success. Quotes from there as we go. All right. We ain't wasting no time because this man's on a clock. He's got to take folks to school because it's 7:30 something in the morning out in Seattle, and he's joining us a day early where we'll talk shop. It's time to catch up with our friend Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and Sounder at heart. Thank you for doing this, my friend. I know you're on the hop, and I know you've got to get in the line. You got to get in the bus line, man. You got to make sure that everybody's got their lunch and that folks are getting to school, right?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My daughter has a light ankle sprain, and I have to take her because she's in crutches just to make sure she stays off of the ankle a little bit. So I gotta end up taking her to school, and she's like, "Yeah, no, we gotta leave at 7:55." I'm like, "Okay," but we're here. We are on our second cup of coffee. We have some interesting Sounder news. We have a final to get to. So yes, sir, let's do it.
All right, so you mentioned the interesting Sounder news. Go ahead and hit us with that because I know that there has been discussions and there have been player discussions about who's in, who's out, who's being chased, who's going to Liga MX. So hit me. What's going on?
Yeah, so look, this one came out of left field, to be quite honest. This one surprised me. Danny Leyva was a guy who I was certain the team was going to count on to replace what seems almost certain departure of Obed Vargas, or what seemed like the almost certain departure of Obed Vargas. And now with this move and some of the, I don't know what you call it, the things we've been able to decipher after going over and over again.
You're reading the tea leaves, huh? You're sitting there looking in the coffee grounds in the bottom of the cup, right?
Yes, man. And going back to that presser, that end of season presser, in the way that Craig Weibel responded to the possibility of Ovid leaving on a free, I mean, maybe if push comes to shove, they're just gonna take the loss when it comes to the transfer fee and just play Ovid Vargas for the last year of their contract on $140,000 and let it ride after that. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but for certain, without Danny Leyva, now you have Steiner Brunel, you clearly have Ovid Vargas, and that's about it. I mean, there's a possibility of you signing Peter Kingston. I know that they are following a couple of center midfielders, including one from Liga MX, that are more experienced and perhaps more battle proven. And so maybe that's the route. But what this does is that it does open up about $350,000 of the cap. The fee is undisclosed so far. I'm hearing that it's close to $1 million, but not $1 million. So we'll see where that goes and what that number is when it comes to the transfer of Danny Leyva. There is going to be a clause retained for future sale for Danny Leyva. So it's an interesting move. I think that it benefits the player mainly. When we look at Danny Leyva, a guy that signed with the Sounders at 15 years old, he's always had the technical ability. He's had the vision. He is a player that is phenomenal when it comes to set pieces. He unfortunately has never had his moment. There was an Ovid Vargas moment. There was a Josh Atencio moment. There was a Christian Roldan moment. The midfield has been pretty convoluted. There's been a lot of different players that have come on and off the field for Brian Smetzer, and he never quite broke through. I feel like last year, and that's without a doubt, actually, he's coming from his best season as a Sounder, his best professional season, over 1,000 minutes. He's a guy that certainly became more influential on the field. And look, I think he's grown over the last 2 years in the facets of the game that perhaps he didn't quite have, which was athletically, his dynamism, his dribbling on the ball. I think he's grown there defensively. Those were, question marks that I think the coaching staff had about his game, and he's responded admirably. And I think that going into Liga MX, his skill set is gonna elevate. His skill set is gonna put him at a different level. I think he could come into this Necaxa team, which is a very fluid notion right now because they just let go of Fernando Gago. They are obviously under new management, and how does that look like next season? I'm not quite sure. I did talk to somebody that covers Club Necaxa, and it sounds like they're going to be playing with a double pivot, and therefore it makes sense to bring in a guy like Danny Leyva. So whether it's the 10 or whether it's the 8, I feel like in Liga MX, Danny Leyva is going to be successful and he's going to shine.
And you mentioned those two movements. What cup of coffee are you on? You on your second?
Second cup of coffee, baby. Second cup of coffee. We are rolling today.
Okay. So how much more boogieing do you anticipate with the roster as you see it, considering the discussions with Leyva and Vargas? And, obviously you have folks coming up from Tacoma that have gotten minutes. There probably can be the economically feasible parts of the roster when it comes to the cap. But how much more boogieing with names are you anticipating here?
Because this one came out of left field, perhaps there is a possibility of them, like I said, bringing in an experienced center midfielder just to hold depth, just to hold the position in case something does come up with Ovid Vargas, and just to have a different profile center midfielder. I know Peter Kingston from Tacoma Defiance is a guy that they have brought up last year in a short-term loan. They really like him. But considering that they are following a couple of center midfielders, I think that could be a place where they add a little bit of experience. So perhaps that gets done early. I know that one of the guys that they really like won't be available till the summer, so maybe they wait that long. But aside from quite a few acquisitions or promotions from the Tacoma Defiance side, like there's an attacking midfielder, that I think that they're going to sign for sure. Maybe a Tino Lopez they might sign. But aside from that, I don't expect a lot. But this coming out of left field maybe shakes things up a bit.
Okay, speaking of coming out of left field, Rich Ransom, our resident son of Ben up in Philly, sees you and literally launches this onto the Twitch pitch. So I'm going to ask if you have anything to know about this. Rich is saying, what's up with Rothrock to Nashville? Is there anything, has this been on anybody's radar at all? Rich is hearing it in Philly. No reports I've seen published, but are you hearing anything about Paul Rothrock and his next destination?
Yeah, so I think that came off or stemmed off a show I did, and we talked about it. There apparently is someone who I believe is a fan that tracks flights of people that had put it out there. So I was asked about it, and I do know that there had been interest for Paul Rothrock from Nashville. Now, what does that necessarily mean? I think it's still to be determined. I did a little exercise in Lobin's Scorchers because of those news, going over the margins of what they're paying currently for a guy like Jacob Schaffelberg, right? A Canadian international. He's only making about 450. This team is not paying huge money. Actually, Boyd, which is surprisingly, is the most they're paying for it, and he has a trajectory. He's making $1.5 million or something close to that. But I just don't know how much Nashville is willing to raise the bar and pay a guy like Paul Rothrock. Now, do I think he's a good fit? Absolutely. Do I think that he's a guy that would come in and make a difference? Yes. I just don't know if that $700,000 figure that we've been kind of throwing around is something that Nashville will be willing to pay to add a guy like Paul Rothrock. So it's interesting. I think that there's clear interest for sure. But that, as I mentioned here on the show before, there have been multiple clubs that have shown interest for Paul Rothrock because of the profile of player that he is. But they all have an idea that a guy like Paul Rothrock would come for 400, 500,000 rather than the $600, $700, $800 mark.
Yep. Just to let everybody know, right now, Tyler Boyd, full compensation, and this is base plus incentives, base plus stuff that's been laid off. Last season, Tyler Boyd was marked at $1,105,000. Gaston Brugman, who was let go in the offseason, $1,409,000. Then trying to see, you got a lot of folks that are on those rookie min levels in the $80,000 to $86,000. Jack Merritt, center back at $895,000. Mukhtar, as an example, $5,003,000, and that's total compensation. So that's all the way over here. Alex Muil at $535,000. You've got Jason Palacios at $526 2/3. Ahmed Kassem, who's at $650. Schaffelberg, you mentioned at $470, full compensation there. Sam Surridge, full compensation, just over 3.2. And Walker Zimmerman, who is no longer a part of the discussion at center back, was at just under 3.5. So if you take the numbers of the folks that are gone, you're probably looking at something close to 6. Do you spend that $800 that you're looking for on Paul Rothrock? I mean, if you're working with the same amount of money, then the money is there to bring in a Rothrock, but are you wanting to spend that $800 even though you probably have kept 6 from letting players go?
Yeah, and that's the big question, right? And this is no disrespect to Paul Rothrock, but it's the way of the world. And if you are a domestic guy that at his age came in as a walk-on, clubs are going to want to see you do it again on the field before they maybe give you that bump that you're looking for. Right. But what I will say is this, and I mentioned this on Lobin's Scorchers, I think the writing's on the wall. I think that the negotiations between the Sounders and Paul Rothrock have crossed the line to where the player might just leave on principle, and maybe he'll go and get a little bit over what the Sounders are offering him, if not the same amount, but he does it elsewhere, because there is a sense of, I don't want to go back with my tail between my legs, and I've already talked about it. I've held my ground. So now I'm going to go out there and prove it and play with the chip on his shoulder, which is the Paul Rothrock MO and what makes him this super saiyan when it comes to his skill set. So I feel like he could do that outside of the club.
All right, MLS Cup this weekend, and when everybody who has been visiting, I've been asking about it. Messi and friends make their way through, and they steamrolled NYCFC, and you had Vancouver as the Western Conference rep go down to San Diego, and San Diego has done worse at home than they have on the road this year. I don't know why that is, but that's just what the numbers were in the regular season. So now Vancouver, who just kind of was hidden away. Vancouver's Vancouver. You know, it's like, I guess information kind of stops at the border north of you. It's like you get to what? You get to Vancouver Island and Puget Sound, and then just information stops. Nothing comes from Canada to find out about what's going on. Literally, it's like NAFTA makes everything stop there at the border. And so if you're like north of Snohomish, nobody knows what's going on with Vancouver, apparently. Vancouver has been in a lot of pools as the team making it out of the West. They make it out of the West very quietly until the playoffs when they have to be on TV. But what are you anticipating with this one?
Look, the biggest thing for me when it comes to this final is the kind of disrespect that Vancouver is being attributed. I mean, I want to hear the line from you and the numbers there when it comes to this game. And look, I'm not denying the fact that Inter Miami is the heavy favorite, and that playing at home, that being a team that has on the scoreboard at least at the end of games have been so much better than the opposition. I get it. But when you look back at that New York City FC game, the word thrashing and just dominant performance by Inter Miami, I feel like it's being thrown around very loosely. New York City FC was in that game for the majority of it. I think that they responded well. After the Justin Hack goal, there were moments that they could have had. Maxi Morales picks up a ball that he should have probably put away inside the 18 on a good press moment. So for me, I feel like there's been a lot of, look, this Messi and team France is their time. They're going to get it. They're going to win. There's just this, they're steamrolling, and they're forgetting that this Vancouver team is more battle proven. They are a team that has more ways to adapt to a game getting out of line or going out of their way than Inter Miami. Not to mention the fact that I feel like the midfield is so much better than Inter Miami's, that the Paul's going to be on this island fighting these two monsters in Cubas and Berhalter. If there's a team that could beat you and expose the spaces that Alba leave on one side and Frey or Cello leave on the other side, is a team like Vancouver. Plus, they have that stardom, and at the same time, the Lionel Messi GOAT kryptonite, who is Thomas Mueller. So as much as people have the notion that Miami is just going to destroy Vancouver, I'm leaning over to saying that Vancouver is going to win this game, and they're going to do it with the same blueprint that the Sounders left on the table when they exposed this team in the Champions League, Leagues Cup final here in Seattle, because this Vancouver team has a lot of tools that the Sounders use that game to frustrate, limit, and attack this Inter Miami team.
All right, your numbers were at 1 minute warning for you. So Messi and friends at a minus 132, 90-minute draws a plus 308. Vancouver now under plus 300 in the composite at a plus 294 from our friends at Odds Portal.
Really?
Yep. They were north of 300 until today. Now they're south of 300 in the composite at a plus 294. I had it as a 90-minute draw, and I'll take that plus 308. So I figured it was going to go for a while. But Messi and friends, minus 132, Vancouver to plus 294.
Wow. I expected it higher. I didn't think it was going to drop to that. I still like it. You might have to do some things to make it worth your while there. Maybe the compos on goals, I think, is going to be a over 3.5 goal type of game for sure. I understand that maybe it is tempting to go with the draw, but I don't see it that way. I do not see it that way. I think it's going to happen in 90, and I think that Vancouver's going to pull through, and they learn from that late equalizer against LAFC, and they've been tested against the better teams. They've been in a CONCACAF Cup champion League Cup final. They have played this team before. Jasper Sorensen knows the mental component, what it takes to face this Galactico team and full of legends. I just like Vancouver, man. I think Vancouver's going to be there. I think that is going to be a high scoring game, and they're going to do it in 90, man.
Plus 3.5 is a plus 103. 3.75 is a plus 138. Plus 4.5, north over under 4.5 is a plus 237.
Oof, I don't know. That seems tricky, but I do think that is going to be a high scoring game for sure.
And Yusukanome was the name that we were trying to figure out with Tacoma Defiance, the forward.
Yes.
Yeah, so Yusukanome. Sounder at Heart and Lobbing Scorchers and Pulso Sports, what's going on before you get out of here?
Yes, we just did a really, really good special emergency show about Danny Leyva and what's going to come up. What does that mean for the Sounders with Jeremiah Shan that you will find in the Sounder at Heart podcast network and the Sounder at Heart YouTube channel. We definitely did Lobbing Scorchers yesterday, so go ahead and check that out. We had a really good episode as well. We talk about the matchup here for the MLS Cup final. We talked Danny Leyva as well, so it's a really good show. Go ahead and check it out. And in Pulso Sports, I will be doing an end of season roundtable with some of the top journalists here in the area to talk about the season that was and the season that will be in 2026 for the Sounders.
And we'll talk about that next week here. As always, my friend, great to see you. Get folks to school because learning is fundamental. See you next week.
Appreciate you, boss.
All right, there goes Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports. Okay, so thanks to Niko for dropping in on a Wednesday and just jamming us into his schedule because he's got to get folks to school. They got to learn and get good grades and get more scholars so they can go to Washington State. Okay, college soccer time before we get out of here, before we say hi to everybody. Yesterday, it was one of the games that was on the right-hand side of the bracket on the women's side, and it was Truett McConnell in the NAIA as they were trying to get out of the round of 16. They did. Here's the ending, courtesy of our friends at Urban Edge Network and the NAIA. Truett McConnell had to go to PKs.
Whistle blows. And a save! Diving to the left, Whitman pushes it out. Trauschke making her walk to the spot. The game winner in hand. AAC Player of the Year, the Offensive Player of the Year, the Golden Boot in the AAC. Annabelle Trauschke, the senior, from the spot to move into the quarterfinals. They've done it! After 4 rounds, Truett McConnell moves on in the NAIA National Championships to the quarterfinal round, defeating the 7-seed Grace Lancers by a score of 4-2 in penalties.
Took longer than 90 minutes, but Truett McConnell moves on, and they're going to play at 4 o'clock local time tomorrow afternoon against the 15-seed Embry-Riddle of Arizona. Also, right-hand side of the bracket, the 14-seed Kaiser of Florida out of the Sun Conference beats Indiana Wesleyan the 3, and they're going to take on Missouri Valley the 6, who knocked off the unseeded Lindsey Wilson team yesterday. So Embry-Riddle, Truett McConnell are the 5 o'clock Eastern game. So it is 11-2, 5 and 8. Quarterfinals on the women's side. Marion of Indiana, the number 1 seed, number 8, Oklahoma Wesleyan. It is number 13, Cumberland's Kentucky against number 5, John Brown of Arkansas at 2 o'clock. So 11, Marion of Indiana, Oklahoma Wesleyan, your 1-8. Cumberland's of Kentucky, the 13, and John Brown. They're at 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. Right-hand side, Embry-Riddle, the 15, and the 10, Truett McConnell. And then Kaiser and Missouri Valley. That's your final 8. That's the quarterfinals in Pensacola, Florida for the NAIA Women's Soccer Championship. Now, on the men's side, once again, we have got to catch up with Steve DeCou yesterday as he was waterside, keeping an eye on the waves and making sure that they were behaving as well as they should after their activity. So looking at everybody in Orange Beach, championship bracket on the men's side, once again, quarterfinals. It is 11, 2, 5, and 8 tomorrow in Orange Beach. 11 o'clock, Grandview of Iowa taking on Georgia Gwinnett. So they're the early. And then it is at 2 o'clock. It is a Warner Pacific unranked against number 12 Cumberland's Kentucky. We'll see if they win tomorrow. We'll see about maybe having Coach DeCou on in hour number 1, maybe 9 to 9:30. We'll see what happens, or maybe we'll have him late. We'll see if we can orchestrate something where we can have them on, or if we tape it Thursday, we'll run it in the first half hour on Friday while we're at Benchwarmers in Decatur for their soft opening as they get ready for everything on Draw Friday, where Maddie and Jason are at Brewhouse. I'm starting the day off for the morning show inside Benchwarmers. We're going to catch up with our friends from the city of Decatur, and we're going to hear from Michael Parkhurst. We're going to hear from Nino Torres. We're going to hear from Maddie and Jason, and it's going to be a full day for us as we get you ready for the draw. We'll kick things off at Benchwarmers, 9:05 start, and Maddie and Jason will be drifting in the 10 o'clock hour. They'll take over to about 11 o'clock, get you ready for the draw, and then they'll do the post show after the draw. I'll be at Benchwarmers because I've got a lot of things to do, and I want to say hi to everybody. I want to watch the draw too. So I'll be at Benchwarmers in Decatur. They'll be at Brewhouse, and they'll be there. So shows are normal, 9:05 on Friday morning. So it'll be getting you ready, Michael Parkhurst, Maddie and Jason, Nino Torres, and we'll talk CONMEBOL with Nino, and then we'll get you ready for them. About 11 o'clock, Maddie and Jason will take over from Brewhouse, and then they'll get you ready for the draw. Then they'll be on after the draw, and we'll also try and grab some special guests as we go. Anyway, back to the NAIA real quick. 5 o'clock on the 4th, William Penn unranked against Mid-America Nazarene, year 7. Indiana Tech unranked after beating Bethel of Indiana, the 3. They're going to take on West Virginia, WVU Tech, the 11. So that's your final 8s in the NAIA. So as promised, it's time to catch up with Sue Patberg and find out what's going on in Division III as they are making their way to Salem, Virginia in the Final Four. We missed a milestone with Coach Patberg since the last time we caught up with her. And so it's an opportunity for us to congratulate her on win number 400, talk about that a little bit, and find out about the matchup against Tufts. Here's our conversation with Sue Patberg before Emory hit the road. So it's been a couple of days since we've had the chance to catch up, and I guess first and foremost, congratulations on the milestone victory. You got to add a 0, and you got to put 2 numbers in front of it. Do you remember your first collegiate win?
No idea. I mean, as a head coach it would have been at University of Minnesota, but no. I don't. I remember a lot of things about, coaching there in my first season, but not the first win.
So what do you remember about that first season when you were a head coach?
Well, one time we were playing at Michigan State, and it was one of those games where they were just absolutely – we had just started Division I program. We went from being a club team. Anyways, they were pelting us, just shelling us. Like we barely could get out of the 18. We get this breakaway. We go down. We score a goal. We win 1-0. After the game, my assistant at the time, Lisa, we turned to each other and we just start laughing because we were like, we had absolutely no business. And having been on the other side of that now, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just a game of soccer. That can be the game of soccer. But yeah, that's one of the things I remember about that year.
Does it seem like it was just yesterday, or does it seem like it was, last Tuesday when you started coaching professionally, that it's been this kind of a run?
No, it seems like a long time ago. In that it's amazing how much I didn't know that I didn't know.
Huh.
That makes sense. There's so much stuff that I didn't realize that I didn't know when I was that young head coach and was like, full of myself and, just going for it.
North of 400 career wins. Obviously, we tip our hat to you, and we know that it has meant a lot of late nights, a lot of long travel, on buses and vans and the occasional plane and things like that. Last time we got to see you was in the opening round of the tournament where you had the doubleheader at home, and you go from there up to Hampton, Sydney, or to Washington and Lee. You take care of business against Johns Hopkins and Pomona Pitzer. Your two takeaways, I guess, from those wins in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, where you beat Johns Hopkins 3-1, you get the one goal on Pomona Pitzer 1-0. You're in another Final Four. What'd you learn about yourself at Washington and Lee?
I mean, they were just such great opponents. You got to that round of 16 and you know that you're going to run into the best of the best. And we ran into Johns Hopkins and Pomona Pitzer, and they absolutely delivered that. And we just really had to grit it out, and we had to stay the course, and we had to get better in the second half of both games. And playing back to back when you're playing that level of an opponent is just so physically demanding and exhausting and mentally tough as well. But just really proud of the team to be able to gut out those two huge wins and be where we had hoped to be. And we feel like we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when it comes to doing something when you're going Sweet 16, Elite Eight, back-to-back days, how difficult is it to, from a coaching standpoint, study, because you've got to study, I think, two opponents to start, and then you get to knock one off. And so at least half of the work that you started just kind of goes into file 13, or it goes someplace else for later. Right. But then you've got to focus on the opponent that you do know, and you've got to make sure that your players are as educated as possible on the opponent that you do know now, as opposed to the two that you were looking at going in. So what is that entire creative process like to make sure that the coaches are ready, the team is ready, and the philosophy is in place, even though I know you're probably focusing more on yourself, but you have a loose construct as to what the opponent's going to do.
I mean, it is the quickest turnaround. I mean, you've got to feed your team. You've got to get them, luckily we had an indoor pool, so we could do a little bit of recovery. We get the leg boots on, our trainers massaging our players. I mean, all of that stuff is the quickest thing. And of course, the coaching staff, we were lucky enough to have the first game so we could stay and watch the second game. And then, you're watching as much film as you can and preparing as much as you can. But, when it's a quick turnaround, the focus so much is, sure, you need to understand the opponent and their strengths and what you can exploit and where you can take advantage of some things. But, it's so much about what you're focusing on your own team. At least we were really focusing on ourselves. I mean, Pomona was a fantastic opponent as well. But there's only so much information that your team can receive and process and, then go play in less than 24 hours.
And then it's getting ready in less than 24 hours. And then by the time you're playing Tufts in the Final Four, it's like a week and a half. And so it's like, how do you, I guess, have the information? Is it doled out? Is it front loaded when it comes to making sure that everything is ready to go, but you're still focusing and you're not waiting too much and the energy isn't wasted? I mean, you go from back to back to a week and a half. What's that transition like?
Yeah, and it's a tricky week and a half because, of course, Thanksgiving is in there. So I think we've spent the entire bus ride home. Luckily, it was a long one to figure out what was our schedule going to be and what was that going to look like and what was Thanksgiving Day going to look like, and planning our practices and so the whole front side of it was just the planning of going back to the semifinals and the logistics of all of that. And then Thanksgiving was great. We had a Thanksgiving meal at my house with all of our staff and the team, and that was really fun. So that was a large part of it as well. And then it was kind of like, okay, we're playing Tufts. We really got to focus on that. And meanwhile, you're training through that entire process. So yeah, there's a lot of jumping around, and again, nice long bus ride. So today, I think I caught up on all the emails that I hadn't been paying attention to. So
then you're getting ready, and when you have all of the players spread literally from state 1 to state 50. I mean, you've got like 5 time zones of players that you have as a part of that roster. What's it like? I know that they want to be with their families, but you're focusing on being with the family that you have there at Emory. What's it like to have the local family take over for the family that they may not get the chance to see over Thanksgiving holiday?
Yeah, that was I think one of the things that was our largest lesson, one of the greatest lessons we learned last year after losing in the semifinals, is that we had traveled the weekend before for the 16 and 8. We got home. Everybody then flew home for Thanksgiving. We flew back, and it was just so much traveling that was one of the things, like, we're staying. If we can make it to the semifinals, we're staying. So the team stayed. So that was really great because we didn't have that those moving pieces, and the families, the parents were amazing, super supportive. They were sending desserts to my house for Thanksgiving meal. They sent beautiful bouquets of flowers. They were 100% on board supporting the decision to stay together for Thanksgiving and to train. And boy, they've just been amazing this entire time.
Okay, so what was the spread like? How diverse are we talking here? Are we talking normal stuff and then sending of desserts? See, now you have me fascinated as to what the spread was like.
Oh, it was 5 turkeys, 3 hams, tons of mashed potatoes. I think probably 4 different, at least, mac and cheeses. And then it was amazing because the players all brought sides. So there was like 3 mac and cheeses from those guys, and sweet potato pie and green bean casserole. And, everybody just brought like their favorites. And it was, 4 tables of massive amounts of food. It was just a blast.
And then you all worked it off on Friday morning, right?
That's right. Yeah. Friday afternoon, but yes.
So what concerns you the most about Tufts, and what are you the most confident about in this matchup?
Well, at this point in time, all 4 of these teams are fantastic. And I mean, the 4 of us, I think, have been ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4 this, for weeks now. So we know that we are going to see a fantastic opponent in Tufts. Again, it's a chess game, right? Like, can we exploit the areas of the field that we think are their weaknesses while we're trying to lock down areas that they may try to exploit in ourselves? And, we've really been able to have some great defensive presence while being able to still deliver on the attacking end of the field. So, I think it's just going to be a great game. And what you would expect at this point in time, right? Like, what should be.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you're all going to just stand there in the middle of the ring and take swings at each other for a good 15 rounds. When it comes to travel, I know that you mentioned the pre-Thanksgiving part of it, but going to Salem, Virginia from Atlanta, that's not like, hopping on a commuter flight, going 45 minutes and you're locked in place. It's not like hopping in a car, fighting traffic, and, an hour later you're there. Logistically, how much of a challenge is it to, when you're not going to a transportation hub, coming from a transportation hub, to decide, okay, we leave, we fight traffic, we get there, we're locked in, and the physios take over, we get practice. What's that travel like?
You know what? We do so much flying because of our conference in the UAA that there's so much prep to fly, right? Like, you got to get there early, you got to get checked through, everybody in through security, sit there, wait for your plane, fly, get the bus, etc. In some ways, last weekend, jumping on the bus and right out of Atlanta, we left, the last trip at 9 a.m. Today we left at 9:30. We all get on the bus, and it's really, sure, it's 7 hours, but the players have all of that time to sleep or study or a little bit of both, or, hang out and talk. And so it's really nice because there's not so much broken up time. There's like chunks of time. And with the weather being what it was, actually, we're pretty thankful that we're Atlanta here to Salem, easy trip. We stopped one time for lunch, and it was great, actually.
Okay, just checking, just to make sure that everything is locked in one piece as you get ready for it on Thursday. 6:30 p.m. start, Final Four, NCAA Division III. We'll be watching. We can't wait. And we're all going to be sitting there at the edge of our screens, making sure that everyone is making sure that Emory's watching what they need to watch, so you guys can advance to yet another win, chasing after another title. Thanks for hopping in on a busiest of busy weeks, plotting for a Final Four. Thanks for dropping by the morning show. Just be safe. Have a great match. We'll see you on the other side.
Great. Thanks, John.
Sue Patberg, head coach of Emory, and they're getting ready for their matchup. With Tufts in the Final Four in the NCAA Division III tournament. So great to catch up with her. And they were already up there. So they were in Salem, Virginia, and they're getting ready for their matchup coming up in next day. Okay, a couple things to go before we get out of here. Let me say hi to everybody. Hey, Abby, good morning. Jay Kismet, YNWA. Guess we know who you're a fan of. Thanks for dropping by. I think it's the first time you dropped by, so don't be a stranger. Let's see. Morning, Rich. Glad to have you back in here. Morning, Dell. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. And let's see. So there's Abby. Abby's so rooting for Vancouver. Michael, good morning. Good to see you. It's been a while. And happy with the season ticket holder 18th match. Absolutely. Let's see. Alex got a hot oil facial in the cold for an hour watching the turkey fryer fry like a hawk. Absolutely true. Let's see. I don't know why if this is my kids take the Flintstone Complete gummy vitamins, stay pretty healthy. Yeah, I do the same thing. I got like 9 different pills I take every morning. No, well, and that's the thing right now, Michael, wondering why nothing has happened to John Textor. Yeah, really, where is the 30 million? The 30 million's in the courts. So as long as he continues to kick the can down the road and can do so in courts of law, that's where it's going to be. So, yeah, so that's where things are with John Textor. Yes, it does feel icky, Dell. So it is, in fact. I think he does. I think Dell wants to know if John Textor does like soccer. I think he does, and it's a part of his DNA. At least I think so. And so, and I would say that probably it's choice D, all the above. Do we know if Textor likes soccer at all, or does he just see it as a vehicle to make money? Owns 3 teams, which is wild, but you can do that. So once again, morning, Michael. Michael wondering about volunteering. So help out, Michael, if you guys have got your notices one day or the other, because Michael's looking for his information on possibly volunteering for the World Cup. So that's your APB this morning for those of you that might be getting notices or haven't gotten your notices yet. So please share amongst each other. So good morning, Alex, as well. And that is everybody that dropped into the timeline this morning. Thanks for dropping by. I used to take Flintstone gummies, but now I do like a different gummy for fiber and a different gummy for multivitamin. And there's a 6th one I take for preventative this time of year because of the weather. And because my body, when I step out into the cold, my nose starts to run, and I don't know why. So morning, Hutch. Good to see you. All right, before we get out of here, a couple of other notes. It looks like Tadeo Allende is being courted by River Plate for the 26th season. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. And it also looks like Rebecca Lowe might be working with our friends at Big FOX. So that's what you're staring at there, because you have to ask permission in these kinds of things. So it looks like she'll be a part of the World Cup coverage on Big FOX, according to Andrew Marchand at The Athletic. You have to ask permission in these kinds of things. And since it would be a time where the world kind of stops and she doesn't have anything going on with Peacock or NBC or anything like that, Kate Scott goes from FOX to CBS Champions League coverage. Fox had an opening and they were looking for a host. And so Rebecca Lowe was the obvious first choice. Rob Stone is going to continue as the host. And so it looks like that Fox might be chasing after Rebecca Lowe just on a loan. Nothing is going to happen with her work at NBC. Nothing's going to change there. But since you've got a month where nothing's going on, then Big FOX knocked on Peacock's door and they're like, hey, can we borrow her for a month? And so it looks like it might be the case where she gets borrowed for the World Cup. Hugo Farou looks like he is going to be going to Lou City. That was announced this morning as player transactions. And you're starting to see in USL Championship, you're starting to see transactions as well with rosters and such. Germany looks like they're going to host the Women's Euro 2029 after winning in the first round of voting today. UEFA Executive Committee voted 15 for Germany, 2 for Denmark and Sweden. Portugal withdrew for the process back in November. Kevin Sullivan looks like he's going to return to Manchester City for a training stint, according to Bradley Carnell, December 8th through the 18th. And Philadelphia is holding their end-of-season media relations wrap-up press conference thing. And so that's going on right now. That's the first piece of news that Jonathan Tannenwald has released from that particular presser this morning. I almost did. Yeah, Derek, I was right there because it showed you where my head is when it comes to television. I almost did say Rob Lowe. I almost did. But, Rob Stone and Rob Lowe, two of the very attractive men on television these days. Don't know. I do not know if Rob Lowe knows soccer, but we do know that he'll wear an LAFC hat if Big FOX is broadcasting a game of import, because I think at the championship game where Gareth Bale got the winner against Philly, I believe they showed a cutaway of Rob Lowe at BMO. So that's just that's what I think is going on. All right, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And tomorrow, once again, it is going to be the MLS free-for-all. All of our MLS folks that have come by all season long in the Friday time slot, because Friday's going to be kind of busy, we're having it tomorrow. We're going to talk about MLS Cup. We're going to talk about the MLS High Yearbook, senior superlatives, all the things with all of our friends from Apple TV. And we'll see how many of them we can wrangle here in a 2-hour period and discuss anything and everything. And maybe if Danny Higginbotham joins us, we can talk fantasy football and how much my team really stinks. Okay, tonight, or in this afternoon, Coppa Italia, Inter and Venezia is on CBS Sports Network at 3. Central American Cup from CONCACAF. Our friends from Alajuelense take on Chelaju. That's at 9 o'clock on FS2. Arsenal and Brentford, 2:30 on USA. We'll go over juice boxes for the Premier League in a second. ESPN Deportes, La Liga, Athletic Club, and Real Madrid at 1. Fox Deportes, Honduran League at 8:30. Olancho and Olimpia. 2:00 the Apertura semis, Cruz Azul and Tigres, followed by Monterrey and Toluca. Universo has Arsenal and Brentford at 2:30. Univision is simulcasting the Apertura semis. ESPN Plus, German Cup, doubleheader at noon, doubleheader at 2:30. Copa del Rey, 3-6 matches at 3 o'clock. And La Liga, Athletic Club, and Real Madrid at 12:30. Arsenal and Brentford's on NBCSports.com at 2:30. Coppa Italia's on Paramount Plus, 9, noon, and 3. Scottish Premiership, Rangers and Dundee United at 2:45. 2:30, 3 matches in the Premier League, 2 at 3:15. And that is the rundown for today. It looks like Gary O'Neill might be lined up to take over for Daniel Farke at Leeds if things continue to go south for them this season. Now, let's take a peek at the juice boxes in the Premier League before we get out of here today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Once again, tomorrow, MLS Cup free-for-all, MLS season in review. We'll catch up with our friends from Apple TV. Okay, so Premier League. 2:30 kicks. There's 4. Arsenal a minus 244 hosting Brentford, who's basically a plus 700. Brighton a plus 114 at the Amex, hosting Aston Villa at a plus 240. Burnley a plus 391 at home, hosting Crystal Palace at a minus 132. Wolves at home a plus 221, hosting Nottingham Forest at a plus 133. And yes, I will try to effort that section of the conversation that John Textor had with the Botafogo show about transactions and such. 3:15, 2 matches. It is Leeds, a plus 293 at Elland Road, hosting Chelsea at a minus 111. Liverpool hosting Sunderland at a minus 294. Sunderland is a plus 741 in the composite. 1 match tomorrow, Manchester United and West Ham. Manchester United a minus 217 right now. West Ham is a plus 532. Thanks to all of you folks for dropping by, as you always do. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow, talking Major League Soccer, MLS Cup, and all the superlatives from the season that is going to be wrapping up this weekend, with hopefully a lot of our friends coming in 10 and 15-minute intervals. So thanks to Niko Moreno. Thanks to Sue Patberg. Thanks to Dylan Butler. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim. And thanks to all of y'all for dropping by for another go-round of SDH AM. Since it's the end of the show, mucha plazza, y'all, you know what it means. It's time for me to do this. Back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern. See you then. Stay warm.